Welcome to Teacher Tea. Today we are talking about two of my most effective behavior management strategies for the classroom. If you are a brand new teacher, this might be really helpful for you. If you're a veteran teacher and you're struggling, maybe this will be helpful for you as well. All the animals want to be in the video today. These two strategies that I use in the classroom are not backed by research. I've just been teaching for 9 years, and these are the two things that I feel like I've used the most in my classroom and that have been the most beneficial for me. Does it help with every situation? Maybe not, but was it helpful for a lot of behavioral situations that I've had in an inclusion setting and also in a self-contained setting? It sure has. So we're going to dive into that today. It's a cloudy day outside, but it's still beautiful because we are on break and we're getting to do some of the things that we have been wanting to do for a really long time. Hit the like and subscribe button if you want to listen and hear about all things teaching related. I'm a special education teacher. I have been teaching for 9 years, and this is Louie. He wants to join and be a part of the podcast today. And I have taught 3 years in elementary school, inclusion, intervention, and please don't knock that off, self-contained classroom. And that was my first 3 years. The past 5 years, I taught in a self-contained classroom teaching all functional academics, life skills, and social skills, and job vocational skills. And this year, I am an inclusion special education teacher, so very different. I'm in gen ed classrooms, algebra, English, geometry, helping 9th through 12th graders on my caseload earn their diploma. So let's just jump right into it. It's no mystery that today student behavior is very different than what it was years ago, and even when I first started teaching, it's changed and evolved just in the last 9 years. I feel like since I've worked with younger children, I've worked with students in self-contained classrooms, some of which having really high needs, even being like nonverbal, and having a lot of limited communication verbally, um, and also working in inclusion. I feel like I've learned a lot about how to manage behaviors in various classroom settings. And I think teachers would say that's probably one of, or could be one of the hardest things to do now in this day and age. We have cell phones that just distract kids like crazy. Kids' behaviors have reportedly been off the charts. It was reportedly getting worse before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic hit, returning to school afterwards, it was um, skyrocketing. And a lot of times teachers feel like they are managing behaviors more than they are actually teaching their content. So and these two things are not like groundbreaking things. You may hear these and be like, oh, well, that's so simple. I feel like they're very complex because you are dealing with other humans and learning to navigate your classroom and things like that. So regardless, the two things that I do in my classroom, no matter where I'm teaching, who I'm teaching, or what I'm teaching, is I work to build relationships with students, and I really work to get to know them and build rapport with them and form a really solid relationship with them. And the second thing that I do is I work from day one to build their trust in the classroom. So those are the two things that I've used for the last 9 years, whether I'm working with really high needs students or I'm working with students in the classroom on, their math skills or transition skills. Like, building the relationship with the student is probably the biggest thing that you can do, because without that relationship and without that connection, I feel like you're not going to get as much out of your student and pull that work ethic out of them and pull all of the information and get them to learn as much as you need them to without forming that relationship. And it helps them feel more comfortable with you, especially once you start asking them about their lives and what they're interested in, and who all is included in your family. What do you guys do for holidays? What do you do for XYZ? What are some of your favorite things to do? Like, as soon as you start really interacting and engaging with them and showing them how much you really care about them as a person and how much you actually want to form a relationship with them and not just, I'm your teacher, you do what I say. That will come later. But I feel like that relationship piece is so crucial. So, for an example, I had a student I was struggling to connect with a little bit, and really just struggling to get the student to do work, motivate themselves, and complete things in a timely manner. The student was talking about their parent, and I asked them, well, what does your parent do for a living? And the student told me, and it actually ended up connecting with what my fiance does for a living. We were able to connect with that similarity in our lives, and I feel like that helped grow the relationship and the bond a little bit better. I'm able to ask about their parent now, and I'm also able to learn too that my student has a little bit more responsibility placed on them right now in their lives at such a young age that they're at. So it was really helpful for me to hear, and I felt like it was really meaningful for the student to feel that connection and feel like they knew that I, cared about their family and cared about things outside of the coursework that we were working on in the classroom. There's a really awesome quote that says, I hope I don't misquote it, but there's a really awesome quote that says, they're not going to remember what you told them or what you taught them, but they're going to remember how you made them feel. And I want all of my students that I work with or that step into my classroom to feel like they are loved and important and that their needs matter and that I want them to be there and that their learning and growing is important to me. For another example, I feel like building relationships with students has really helped with behavior management, even in like really severe cases. I had a student come to my classroom, transferred from another school, and really had some significant behaviors. And it almost felt like their previous school was just really fed up. And I know a lot of schools and a lot of teachers can get to that point when they're struggling to manage behaviors. But my team that I had, the TAs that worked with me and in my classroom, we really worked to form a relationship with the student. And it took a little bit of time, but after the student realized that we loved the student as a person, and we saw past the behaviors, and we were going to show up the next day no matter what had happened the day before or no matter what was going on. We still loved and cared about the student. I feel like that was one of the most like groundbreaking realizations. That was the way that we really had success with the student, was like forming relationships. Of course, there were other behavior strategies and things in place to help with that, but it's almost like that student needed to know that I'm going to be loved the next day when I walk in, no matter what. And that was like, we saw a significant shift after the student kept coming back, and we stayed the same. We still treated that student with respect and love every single time they stepped into the classroom. Now, they also knew the classroom rules. They didn't get to, in my classroom, like I am very routine, I'm very structured. We know what we need to be doing when we need to be doing it, no matter how high your needs are. Um, so there were other things in place. So I'm not saying the relationship was the only thing, but that was a really huge factor. The second thing that I feel like is really helpful to do with students is building their trust. So especially in like a self-contained classroom, sometimes it can be a little bit harder if you have students who are nonverbal or who really struggle with limited vocalizations. Sometimes it can seem like a bit of a challenge to build relationships with them and to build trust with them. But one of the things that I do to do that is really just follow through on what I say I'm going to do when I say I'm going to do it. If we have something as simple as we're following a checklist or we're following a schedule, seeing that all the way through helps them know, okay, you told me that we were going to do X, Y, and Z, and then we actually did X, Y, and Z. I earned X reward after this. You told me that I would. So now, after doing that consistently multiple times, then they start to learn, okay, this is a person who does what they say they're going to do. And they start to build that trust with you. I feel like when you build a relationship with students and show them that you are someone that they can go to and someone that they can trust, I feel like that just opens the door wide open for all kinds of success. And think of how you feel. So I'm so sorry. I try to put a nice little background scene and then the ads come and Louis gone and now I've disrupted his life and that disrupted my life and here we are. So I can't remember exactly my train of thought of where I was going with what I was saying before, other than I think I was saying once I feel like I build a relationship with students, build that rapport, and start building trust with them, it just blows the door wide open for all kinds of success that they can have in the classroom and beyond. And I don't know, I always want my students to feel like I'm somebody that they can come to. I'm going to have high expectations for you. We are going to do the best that we can. You are going to be held to a high standard and have high expectations because I want you to reach your full potential. Does every student master that and meet that expectation? No, but they know what my expectations are of them. And I feel like a little tough love can go a long way sometimes, but they have to know that they can trust me. They've got a great relationship with me, but also I have high expectations of them too. So the high expectations was not necessarily a behavior management strategy, but I guess I'm saying that to say I don't want this to sound like I build relationships with my students, I build their trust, and then I kind of let them do whatever they want. Like they know that these are the things that they need to do, and I'm going to be held to a high standard to do them. Now, whether they follow through with that or not is not always the case. However, I also want to say that I'm not saying 100% that these two things will completely diminish any kind of behavior or 100% diminish behaviors that you're seeing. But I can say that for the last 9 years, they have helped me in my classroom, even with students with the highest needs and some of the ones with really significant behaviors. It has helped tremendously. I know with gen ed students, it might be a little bit different. So this is kind of coming through a special ed world and the eyes of a special education teacher. I know being in gen ed classes now, I feel like the relationship with my students is just as important, even if I'm the one supporting them and supporting the classroom teacher in class. Um, I feel like building those relationships are still really important to help them be as successful as they can. So, those are the two things that I use and have used for the last 9 years in my classroom. I'm sure that you are probably doing that, but I strongly believe in those two strategies. I strongly believe in no matter who I'm teaching, where I'm teaching, what I'm teaching, I'm going to build relationships and build trust with students. So, if you are on Thanksgiving break already or you are on some kind of break, I'm so happy for you. If you're watching this at a later date and you're not on a break right now, that is okay. A break is coming. I hope you are having a wonderful year. I hope you are having a wonderful second semester or whatever semester you are in right now. We're just are wrapping up our second semester. So please like and subscribe if you like this content and you want to see more content like this. And I'll see you in the next video.